Peace and love. Peace and love, family. It's your brother Isaiah tapping in with another one for the conscious brothers, conscious sisters in the conscious community, keeping the struggle because we know that it's through the struggle that we grow. Also, I like to say that it is, in fact, slow process for progress and that the race is not to the swift, it's to those that remain dutiful. Make sure you stay in this thing for the long haul. Y'all already know my videos, they never constitute any legal advice. I'm not an attorney. Uh, I'm not a legal counsel. I'm not none of those things. I'm just your brother sharing with you education and information about my walks and travels throughout my journey called life. I like to extend these honors to you because when you honor man and woman, you honor yourself. Let me give adoration to the Most High, the head temple of my life, and extend that same love to his all his messages, prophets. Peace to you. Beloved brothers and sisters in grand rising to all the chosen ones. Peace and love. How y'all doing? Myself, great. Constantly unfolding in the one of these two different worlds, taking everything in step stages and degrees. All right, so we want to talk about digital contracts today and consideration in reference to when you're dealing with digital contracts where you're signing your agreements digitally, right? So, a lot of people, uh, when you click the I agree button without even a second thought, you just entered into a contract. And consideration is the invisible glue. So when you go online and you apply for a contract or some sort of agreement and you sign, according to the law, whenever value is given, consideration is also given along with that value. So you can't receive value without consideration. And if you issue value, you also got to give consideration, right? So I it's called the something or something rule, right? At its heart. Consideration means both parties exchange something of value. So when you say consideration, consideration is the value associated with that thing or item in which you're trying to convey to another party. So consideration will be one thing of value for another thing of value. And it's not necessarily dealing with money, but more rather a promise or some sort of action needs to take place to fulfill the consideration of the promise being made, right? So we're going to explore classic examples of consideration in traditional contracts and how that translates to the digital realm, right? When you think about data for free services, and that's a form of consideration you're providing, often without realizing it, right? Uh, you got digital dilemmas when consideration gets tricky. Uh, the atmosphere and nature of digital assets and services can be or can make identifying clear consideration and changing uh changing for courts, right? So, the digital contracts are no different than the written contracts. But when you receive a contract, you're receiving value. Not only are you receiving value, but they're also giving you consideration, right? And the consideration is that they will provide the promise they made under the pledge they made, and your acceptance and your promise to pay the same is critical. Oh, bro, I'm not early in the morning. It's not. We'll dive into some some recent some recent information I'm gonna dive into, right? So see, when you're dealing with consideration has to be evidenced by the contract. It has to be something that is seen. I'm gonna pull up something. All right. I'm gonna share my screen with y'all here in a second. Let me find what I'm looking for. See, you need an example of what consideration is and understanding the doctrine of consideration, right? All right, so let me share the screen with you real quick. All right, so understanding the doctrine of consideration, what makes contracts binding, right? So one of the key elements is understanding what makes a contract. And not only what makes a contract, but what makes it binding upon the parties, right? Now you got the doctrine of consideration is the key legal principle requiring an exchange of value between parties, right? Uh, between parties for a contract to be binding. Consideration may involve monetary repayment, services, or other forms of value, but must be bargained for and legally sufficient. It ensures mutual obligations and distinguishes the enforceability or enforceable agreements from uh, gratuitous uh, promises, while past consideration is generally invalid. Exceptions exist to uphold fairness. And then further analysts reveal how these narcissist-shaped contracts enforceability. So these are the key takeaways from this lesson, right? The definition and purpose of consideration, the type of consideration in law and contract law, legal requirements for valid consideration, exceptions for special cases in consideration, and the role of consideration in contract enforcement. How does consideration differ, right? So these are all the key takeaways. So we're gonna start off with definition of purpose and consideration. Consideration constitutes the fundamental element in contract law, right? Serving as a requisite exchange that validates an agreement between two parties. It refers to something of value that each party agrees to give or perform, establishing the basis for enforceability contractual agreements. All right. So the primary purpose of consideration is to demonstrate that the parties have entered into a binding agreement characterized by mutual obligations, right? Mutual promises. So one person is promising to extend credit and the other person is promising to pay the amount received as credit. So it's a set of reciprocal promises between two individuals or parties promising to do the same act, right? Rather that rather than a unilateral, right, or gratuitous promise, say this is what the prosecutor attorney uses, a unilateral contract to where the contract involves sets of parties where you have the state and its representative and then you have the defendant and its representative. But what they do is they misidentify the defendant and never give the defendant a representative unless there's a representative appointed by them from the court to so that they can always have jurisdiction, but every case is set up with sets of parties. So when the prosecutor fails to identify a party to a case for a legal person, then he's operating under what's known as a unilateral contract, to where he's the only creditor listed on file with the courts to be recognized, right? Without consideration, a contract typically lacks legal enforceability, as the courts require proof. So, I can prove to you that, all right, so the consideration, right? Without consideration, the court, they lack enforceability. So it's just like Rule 19. If all parties are not present in the court can't afford relief because all parties are not present, right? Unless the parties that's present agree to enter into a contract or something like that. As the court requires proof, both sides have incurred a detriment or conferred a benefit. The reciprocal inducement ensures that the contractual commitments are grounded in, right, a bargain for exchange reflecting the party's intent to legally be bound. Excuse me. Consequently, consideration operates as a mechanism to differentiate enforceability contracts from mere agreements or social promises, thereby holding the integrity and predictability of contractual relationships within the framework. So what it's saying is consideration is not just a mere agreement where you sign and agree to something. Consideration is when somebody offers a statement or some sort of value in exchange for something. So in exchange for the lease, I promise to pay rents, right? In exchange for the loan, I promise to pay proceeds, right? So it's a reciprocal promise in sets of promises. Let me show you something. Okay. Now, y'all need to tap the screen, share the live out, okay? Share the live out, show the love to the brother, because I'm showing love to you. By doing what I'm doing right now, this is my love and me giving back to people, because I'm going over some very critical information pertaining to what you're dealing with every day. All right, and understanding consideration, and understanding contracts, which is critical in you being able to, right, to do what you need to do. All right. So we go all the way back up to the beginning of the Contract Act, because if you want to learn any act, it's the Indian Contract Act, the contracts, right? Because everything is contractual in nature, right? So when we go here to the Indian Contract Act, first thing we come to is the interpretation clause, right? Now it says when one person, we know persons are corporations, one corporation signifies, right, to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything. So when somebody signifies their willingness to do or to abstain from doing. So when somebody promises an amount that's due to you, right, he's signifying his willingness to provide payment of that amount, or, right, to withhold that amount, right? Because when they notify you of an amount due, they're signifying their willingness to what? To provide the payment. Giving you notice of a due amount in your name, but the interpretation of it is the most important aspect. How do you interpret that? Because the Contract Act deals with interpretation clause. So if your interpretation of the transaction is barred, or if it's all messed up, you're not gonna act right? Because you don't understand the text, right? So a person signifies to another, right, their willingness when they say an amount is due, he's signifying to you an amount that's payable to you. Anything. When he said, I abstain from doing? Because he's hoping that you accept his promise, right? Now check this out. With a view of obtaining the assent of the other, of that other. So what do you mean? To obtain the assent of the other. Why? Because when the lender provides his promise comes as an amount due. All right. Now we know an amount due can be an amount coming to you. If I say this amount is due to you, I can also be transferring this amount to you. But an amount due can also create an obligation to the holder to pay that due amount. Because if you hold the instrument, it's like you're promising to pay the balance because the instrument is stating the amount due. But the person who delivers the instrument is the one promising the due amount. But if he can get somebody to accept standing in his place, then they automatically take his responsibility, right? So when they issue a bill, they're promising either to pay that due amount to you or for you to accept them not paying and you paying them. So it's either they're agreeing to pay or they're accepting their rights to receive payment, right? Now check this out. So they trying to get the assent of another. So whenever they send a bill and they say an amount is due, they're trying to get your assent to such assent of that other person to such act. So whenever they send something to you, they're creating an act. They're doing an act of a deed, right? And you have the rights to participate or be involved in the act as it's happening, or you abstain, right? He is said to make a proposal, right? So whenever they deliver an item, I don't care what it is, something from the court, something from wherever, it doesn't matter. According to contract law, they're making a proposal for an acceptance. Just like if they send you a notice in the mail, say, this girl said this is your baby, you got this many days and this to prove, or else we consider this as your child. That's an offer. They're making a proposal of information, right? In order to contract a person, right? So let's check it out. Go down. All right. So when the person to whom the proposal is made, so once the person, if they make a proposal to me and I receive it in my legal name, right? Right? It it says when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto. The proposal is said to be accepted, right? The proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. So now, if originally the promisor, right? Let's go back up top right here because you gotta catch what's happening. So in the beginning, somebody signified their willingness to provide an amount to you or to abstain from providing an amount to you because when you sign or when you accept their offer, automatically it becomes your promise. So if you don't do what's required, then you never fulfill the terms of the agreement and you remain bound under your promise because you're promising to do something somebody else was promising to do, but he needs your assistance as an accommodating party to accommodate the transaction. If you can't accommodate the transaction and provide the means of services needed to fulfill the terms of the agreement, you remain bound as uh, uh, a fiduciary who failed to act, right? So let's go back. So remember, one person is already saying that they willing to do something. They saying this amount is due. They delivering an item saying, hey, look, this is due on this date. All right. But they trying to get somebody's acceptance. Why is acceptance so powerful? Because if he can get you to accept his obligation, it relieves him of his duty. He no longer has a duty to perform once his offer has been accepted. So now the key element is what is acceptance? Let's go down. Okay. Now we go back. When a person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto. Now, what is assent? Huh? Let's look this up. It ain't hard to do. We're gonna look it up. You know how I do it. This is how I learned. One of the first acts that actually started waking me up was the Contract Act. Man, when I started reading this Contract Act, that's when my eyes really started to right to open up, right? And I see, right? So this is from the Black's Law Dictionary to make sure y'all can see it. Okay. Like the brother said, and if you ain't signed up for the YouTube, you're about to miss out. I got some fire going into there today for the members. I told you I'm saying I'm gonna start doing some things, but you know, as I continue, I'm share public information with the public because you know we all have to learn, right? So definitions and citations, right? So we're looking up the word assent. All right, right here it says compliance. So to consent or to assent is to be in compliance. So another word for for assent to a proposal being made, if somebody delivers an obligation, the obligation a certain person owes a certain balance by, and it's being presented to a specific person in reference to that person who has a legal obligation duty to perform along with the person. So assent, according to the one delivering the item, will be that when the person or his representative receives the item to be in compliance. So being in compliance, making a payment, or doing something like that will constitute assent, right? Or approval of something done, right? Or you can approve that something's been done, and that will constitute your assent to because you approved it that it's been done. A declaration of willingness to do something in compliance with somebody's requesting that a payment be made, that a specific deed be done. They're looking for the other party to that agreement to provide what they would call their assent to the request, right? So the person to whom a proposal is made signifies his assent. What is his assent? His approval, his knowledge, or his involvement to participate. Then the proposal is said to be accepted. It's accepted once you give assent. And then the proposal, when it's accepted, becomes a promise, right? So they was already making a promise to you by issuing you a promise to pay or a promise of an amount due, which is a promise to pay from them, saying that this amount is due, right? This as a amount, a due balance to be paid. Now, once that right, has been delivered, one that is issued for, and that person receives it, right? It is said to be accepted when he gives his assent. Now you got to understand the way acceptance works, but we're gonna get into it. I ain't gonna jump ahead. All right, so now the lender promised to pay you a specific amount of money, but when you sign his debt instrument, right? Because his debt was his proposal. When we apply for credit, they propose a debt which with payment terms, right? Am I correct? Whenever we enter into a contract, when we enter into an agreement and we apply for goods or services or credit, we ended up in an hour where some a performance needed to be performed. Now, according to the one proposing is the one on the hook for the proposal. So if I'm proposing 50,000 as finance and I'm the one on the hook for the amount to be financed to you, I'm the one obligated to pay. But if I deliver the instrument specifying my obligation to you to finance you for a specific amount of money with the scheduled dates to pay the amounts I'm offering, and you sign that, then you have accepted my proposal. And guess what? Not only did you accept my proposal, now it becomes your promise to me. You see what I'm saying? Hold up. All right, all right. Brother back, brother back. So now let's deal with it. Let's deal with it. Talking about that I'm going over, it got a lot of people in bank, people losing their home. It got a lot of people getting their children taken, a lot of people getting their cars taken, all because they don't understand offers. They don't understand the power of acceptance, right? And when acceptance is binding upon you, right? Because acceptance binds you, right? So you got to know your contract. So the one making the proposal, he's not obligated. If I say 50,000 is due to you, you're interest evidencing my obligation to you as a security, and you sign it and keep it, you're agreeing, you give it in exchange because I already promised what I was willing to do for you. And when you receive my promise, you did for me. You ain't do what you were supposed to do. Instead, you accepted my promise as if you wanted to pay it for me. So since you signed and you signed my promise, now the when accepted becomes a promise. So now, since your proposal was this to me and I accepted it, now we're gonna get into that acceptance. I still ain't went into it yet. You still don't understand what I'm talking about as far as acceptance, right? It became your promise, right? Now, the making the proposal is the promisor. Now, if I'm the one making the proposal, then I'm the one that's promising everything. I'm the promisor. So that I owe something, right? Because I promised to do something, right? So the person making the proposal, so if he's the one making the proposal and I'm the one giving it to, and then my assent is becoming my promise to him, okay, to pay the same, okay, then you got to understand the person making the proposal is the promiser. So who is the actual debtor? Who is the one liable to get, okay? You got to know what's going on, who's on the hook, okay? Who has the obligation to perform? Who's receiving somebody else's obligation and becoming liable because they fell in the act or to, right? Now check it out. Now the person making the proposal is called the promisor, and the person accepting the proposal, the promisee. So if I'm the promisee and I've been promised a bank account as consideration for my personal, my family, and my household benefit, then the bank owes me what? They owe me the rights to what? Credits of all deposits. They owe me the rights to receive what? Financial services, right? Because they promised me financial services, but when I signed it, I promised them to do the same. So their promise became my promise. And then when I delivered the act to the bank signed and accepted my promise the same. But he didn't fulfill his promise. But he's accepting mine without fulfilling his. So that's where the problem come in. And a lot of companies are holding you to your promise, but they haven't fulfilled their promise to you as the original promiser, right? Now check it out. When at the desire of the promisor or the promisee or any other person has done or abstained. So that means that any one of us, the buyer or the seller, we both are giving what? Reciprocal promises. The buyer gave a promise, I signed and accepted his promise. His promise became my promise, and then when I gave it back, I was promising the same to him. So we all just what? Giving what? Reciprocal promises, right? Now check it out. Whenever the promise or the promisee or any person has done or abstained from doing or done or promised to do, somebody promises to do something or abstain from doing something, such act or of the promise is called a consideration for the promise. So use instrument to do, and is being offered to you of consideration to be paid, and you sign it and accept it, now it becomes yours. So that means that all the consideration the other party was promised, now you have the ability that he did because you're holding the same promissory note that in order to test the value in the note to you. So if this note is his promise of value to me, I send it and I'm in it. Now to not just possession of, right, you, but also consideration. And for what I have received, I have to give what? Not value, but also consideration, right? Now, every promise and every set of promises form the consideration for each other. It means that every month, if you pay your bill, we pay, okay? Every month, if you pay with a debit, you're promised to pay. And those promises to pay, because you're not paying with gold and silver, you're giving a promissory note. How I know? Because I know what debit is. To pay, you're using currency. You're not paying in lawful money. Promises. What do you mean promises? Every payment is a promise to pay. Huh? Am I lying or am I telling the truth? Every time you use currency, are you using real money or are you using that promise, real value? So every set of promises, consideration, that is your consideration. That is your promise to pay because you're given a promise to pay as consideration, right? For each other is in the time you pay like that, they consider that as your agreement to the contract. So if you was to dispute and say, I demand you show me proof, they're going to send you what? The consideration, the set of promises you've been. They're going to send you what? A billing statement. They're going to send you from last month. And you be like, why the hell did they send me this statement? I asked for a copy of the contract. That is their contract. That is the contract. They've been accepting to the agreement, and that's what you consider given as value, right? Promises which form consideration or part of consideration for each other for promises. An agreement is not enforceable, is said to be void. And enforceable by law is a contract. And an agreement which allows the option of one or more parties, there are two options of the others or others is a voidable contract, right? So it's saying that if you're in a contract right now at the option of a lender, which is actually the original promiser, and you are one of the ones, the parties there too, the promise that was originally made to, the contract is voidable at your option. Whenever you decide to stand up, acknowledge that you are one of the payees listed in the agreement or owners stated on the front of the document, and that you have a right to receive full balance as credit. You see what I'm saying? It's at your option at any given time. And I can show this stuff to you in more than one place. The same thing I'm reading here, I can go in the code to show you where it backs this up in another place. You see what I'm saying? A contract which ceases to be enforceable by law becomes void when it ceases to be enforceable, right? When it's discharged. All right, so let me explain this to you, right? So we dealing with all we dealing with is information going back and forth from one party to another. All right, and what constitutes acceptance. All right, so acceptance is not just when you sign something. Acceptance is not when you write and say, I agree to be bound. Acceptance is also considered by the performance. So if you pay with cash, that's considered as your acceptance. If you pay with credit, that's considered as your acceptance. If you hold the obligation and fail to do any act, that's considered as your acceptance. If they deliver a bill and you just hold it, then after a certain time has lapsed, usually like 72 hours, it's considered to be accepted. Now it's your promise to pay because you accepted the promissory note, right? And according to his records, it's been accepted for payment. Okay. Now, that's what they do call communication, acceptance and revocation of proposals. This is very important because most people don't know this, right? In the communication of a proposal, the acceptance of a proposal and the revocation of a proposal and the acceptance respectively are deemed to be made by any omission of the party proposing, accepting, revoking, by which he intends to communicate such proposal, acceptance or revocation, or which has the effect of communicating it. So it's not really hard to communicate your acceptance, your revocation, or your proposal, right? Communication when complete. The communication of a proposal is complete when it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom it is made. So if they communicate with you by mail of a due balance, once you receive that instrument, it's complete against you, right? It's considered to be accepted, right? The communication of an acceptance is complete as against the proposer when it is put into the course of transmission to him, right? So as to be out of the power of the acceptor, right? So whenever they're proposing or they're communicating to you something to be accepted, whenever it's out of the hands of the one proposing it and it comes into the hands of the other person, is considered to be accepted as against the acceptor when it comes to the knowledge of the proposal, right? So if I'm the one accepting the rights to payment, right? If I'm the one accepting my rights to payment and then I deliver my acceptance to you, my acceptance is considered to be accepted once it comes to the knowledge of the one that's being proposed to. Now, the communication of a revocation is complete as against the person who makes it when it is put into the course of transmission to the person to whom it is made. So if I say I rescind this contract, it's complete once I put it in the mailbox, right? As to be out of the power of the person who makes it, as against the person to whom it is made when it comes to his knowledge. So the time that they receive it, that's why we do certified mail. So when they receive it, you can't deny that you didn't receive it. That's why we give notice to agent and notice to principal. It notice to principal, it's notice to agent. All right. Now, these are simple things but if you don't understand contracts, they'll play with you. They'll keep writing you saying it's like you never, like they don't have a contract. Once they receive that proposal, that agreement, that whatever you saying, and they don't do or respond or rebuttal, man, listen, that becomes accepted. Do you understand what I'm trying to show you? If you write the prosecuting attorney and you specify that you are the officer of a taxpayer and you promise to pay to the prosecutor a specified amount of money for the taxpayer account in which you're obligated for, and you sign it, and you tell them that this is being presented as payment in my proposal for all charges, and it's considered to be accepted if not returned, right? Within a listen, that constitutes acceptance. Nobody is above the law. Nobody. CPS, the courts, police, nobody's above the law. Offering acceptance the same way how they get you in court with a document. How did they get you on child support? With a document? How did they do it? Somebody made a proposal to another party who received it. And once it was accepted by him, either by holding it, signing it, or agreeing to perform, then it became a binding agreement. See what I'm saying? And this is how they use the power of acceptance, offer an acceptance against us on all levels. Everything. That's why every time they do something to you, they got to send you something. Come on, man. It ain't hard to figure out. A proposal by a letter to sell a house to B at a certain price. The communication of the proposal is complete when B receives the letter. So if somebody sends you a letter saying that they're trying to sell something, it's complete once you receive it. B accepts A's proposal by a letter sent by post. The communication of the acceptance is complete as against A when the letter is posted. So if I write and say I accept my rights to the amounts due, and then I agree to pay those amounts as consideration for the value received, first I'm accepting, and then I'm giving the consideration of what I'm receiving back, right? It's complete once I post it, as against B when the letter is received, right? A revokes his promise by telegram. The revocation is complete against A when the telegram is dispatched. It is complete against B when he receives it. All right. B revokes his acceptance by telegram. B revocation is complete as against B when the telegram is dispatched. So when you go in here and you read in the contract act, it makes it clear to you. All right. It's the conscious community that's confusing the people. It's the people I heard teaching that's confusing everybody because they telling you 1,000 different things you can do, and nobody understands the power of offering acceptance. They don't even understand how they becoming liable to have to pay something, or why child support has a right over them, because the offer of the contract in the very beginning went uncontested. When they made their initial offer of their proposal to enter into an accepted agreement with you, there was no contest to what was presented. It went uncontested. And to this day, remains uncontested. Same thing with court. The original claim that the prosecutor made with the court, nobody never challenged it. Nobody never say, look, I deny all your claims as void, as unenforceable, as fictitious. You ain't deny the claims. When they're not denied, then they are accepted. And if they're accepted, then they become binding on the party who accepted them. This is their operate, right? Now check it out. All right, so let me see if I can find it. All right, so explanation right here. When an invitation proposal contains condition that any proposal made in response to such invitation shall be kept open for a specific time, and the proposal thereon is made, accepting such conditions, such proposal may not be revoked until such time. So if they give, like usually like when you purchase a dealer, they supposed to keep purchase order open for a specific, because it's been purchased by a purchaser. They've already written the stuff out to you as a purchaser, as a person being offered that agreement, right? Ain't supposed to just, sell it to somebody else as soon as you leave. All right, so we're gonna go to this acceptance absolute. All right, in order to convert a proposal into a promise, right? In order for for it to be converted, the acceptance must be absolute, unqualified. You absolutely accept it with any unqualified endorsements, meaning you don't dispute, you don't say nothing, you just take the bill and then you become liable to pay it, right? It says it must be expressed in some usual and reasonable manner, unless the proposal prescribes the manner in which it is to be accepted. If the proposal prescribes a manner in which it is and the acceptance is not made in such manner, the proposal made within a reasonable time after the acceptance is communicated to him is the proposal accepted in the prescribed manner. right? And not otherwise. But if he fails to do so, right, he accepts the acceptance, right? So what if I said all of this is in reverse, right? And what if I told you at the very beginning up here, right, where it says, when a person signifies to another his willingness to do or abstain from doing anything with view to obtain the assent of the other party to is said to make a proposal, right? So what if I told you that you were the one making the proposal to them, right? And when they receive your proposal and they signify their assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. And it becomes their promise, right, to pay you the stated amounts, right, under the accepted proposal, right? So what I'm saying in so many words is that the same way that they're enforcing the contract against you is the same right that you have to enforce the contract against them by way of them accepting your proposal, because you have to understand that whatever rights the lender has and he transfers them to you, you have those same rights. So if he was the promiser in the beginning and you sign and accept it, and then you are issuing the instrument, now you are the promiser and he's the promisee, the one entitled to receive payment of the promise made by you under the terms of the contract, right? But you got to understand that it's a reciprocal promise, meaning in order for him to receive his due balance, you got to receive your due balance. So, in order to make it a mutual binding agreement between both parties, if the original promiser to the contract was the one issuing the contract, and part of his promise was to pay amounts that were due, and my acceptance is my promise to pay the same back to him, in order for us to mutually settle, then that would mean I would have to charge him directly, meaning like the finance charge says, the finance charge is the amount payable directly or indirectly by the consumer, and it's imposed directly or indirectly by the seller as an incident to financing or a contract. So we both have reciprocal obligations toward each other, right? And part of his performance is my performance. If I don't perform, then he's off the hook because he's the original promiser. So my fulfillment of payment depends on my ability to hold him to pay what he owed me. If I don't hold him to the if I don't hold him to his promise to pay, then my promise to pay becomes my obligation to pay out of my pocket rather than receive payment of the amounts that the lender provided to me under the transaction. So you understanding that consideration is to be drawn upon. I was trying to okay. So all of this, let me see. I'm trying to see if I can find one specific part in here before I get ready to go. Agreement void, restraint. Excuse me. So under contracts, right, all we dealing with is reciprocal promises, right? So in the performance of contracts, the parties to a contract must either perform or offer, right, to perform their prospective promises, unless such performance is dispensed with the dispensed with or excused under the provisions of this act or any other law. Promises bind the representatives of promisors, right? So what is it talking about? All right, it's speaking in codes. A representative is a natural man or a woman. A promisor is a taxpayer, right? Who promises to pay the balance of a tax stated under an agreement, right? So promises binds the representatives, okay, of the promisors in case of death of the promisor before performance, unless contrary intentions appear from the contract, right? A promises to deliver goods to be on a certain day on payment of Rs 1,000. A dies before that day. A representatives are bound to deliver the goods to B, and B is bound to pay R 1,000 to A's representatives, right? So what is this telling you? Whenever you enter into a contract, the obligation is not paid to the legal entity. The obligation is paid to who? The representatives of that person. So if I'm dealing with T-Mobile, my payment goes to the representatives of T-Mobile as another party that I can hold accountable to a record for a person in which he's obligated to act for. Okay? Same thing when they deal with your taxpayer, they deal with you, the representative. Okay? This is how this thing goes. And once you start understanding uh how everything works, you'll be able to officially represent your account, your taxpayer as a representative, as an officer. You'll be able to do acceptance. You'll be able to do assignments and claims and things like that. But hold up, before I go, I got one more thing for you. I'm gonna get up out of this because initially I just had to go there. Y'all know how Brother Isaiah is. I had to go there in order for y'all to get an understanding. Now, where my shares at? Where my likes at? Now come on now. Where my shares at? Where my likes at? Y'all ain't gonna give a brother no love? Oh, y'all ain't gonna give me no love. Huh? Okay. Okay. I said give me some shares, give me some likes. Okay. If you like to donate, you like what I'm doing, that's Building Better Minds on the Cash App. Building Better Minds, $1, $2 if you like what I'm doing. If you appreciate the work that the brother putting in, if you appreciate all the time and effort I took out to study to learn this information, to provide this information on a wide scale for us all, then give a donation, show your appreciation. A lot of you guys can show me appreciation just by sharing the video, just by giving me your likes. If it's your first time tuning in, make sure you hit the subscribe button and go check out all my other platforms on TikTok. Got Building Better Minds. You got Instagram, Building Better Minds, and I got Facebook with Building Better Minds. If you want to learn more about Building Better Minds, what we do, how we what our program is based on, then you can always go to the website buildingbetterminds.info, and we got tons of information, tons of different uh projects and uh, tools and different things on the website that can be beneficial to anybody that wants to become a member and participate. All right, but before I get ready to go, I want to read something to you. Okay, so one thing I need to explain to you is, right, whenever your name, all right, say you go enter into a contract and they put your legal name on the contract and you sign it. When you sign on the contract, you're accepting your rights, right, against the person liable under the contract, right? So if the legal person is stating that an amount is due and you sign it, then you have the rights to use the due balance as the one holding the rights over the item as a party to the contract, right? Now I'm explaining this and I'm gonna get on up out of it. All right. What is registered form? When a security is in registered form, what does that mean? Hmm? I ain't gonna give y'all the answers. Like I said, you want to learn more, you're gonna have to tap in with me, right? I'm just gonna show you a little something. You know, brother, I got that information over here. Y'all know brother Isaiah got that info over here, you know? Hold up, let me get this together real quick. Let's get this together. Y'all, hey, listen, y'all tell the brother Isaiah on fire over here, man. Tell him, say the man, the brother on fire today. He be on fire every day. Every time he come on this mud, he be on fire. You hear me? Man, listen. Listen, they can't hold me back, baby. I'm coming. All right? Listen. So hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. Hold up. We had 31 CFR 306.56, assignment of securities, right? Rested in the name of or assigned to two or more persons. Now remember what we was talking about in the Contract Act. It says that when a proposal is made, right, to a specific person and that person signs, it is said to be accepted. When a proposal accepted, it becomes a promise, right? So if you signed a mortgage, you promise to pay installments. If you signed a lease, you promise to pay rents. Every time you sign, you're creating a promise to pay, a promissory note. Now we're talking about an assignment of securities in the name of or assigned to two or more persons. So how do we know who the securities were assigned to? How do you know when you receive? Look, let brother Isaiah show you. Listen, I'm gonna show you this. Boy, listen, let me show you this. How do you know when you receive a security or when a security has been assigned to you? And don't be talking about, oh, I already knew that. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You don't get a brother. Hold up. Hold up. Let me see. Hold up. It might be, I think I might got it backwards. I think it might be 201 instead of 102, 201. Let me try. It's been a minute since I've been in the trenches. Y'all know, brother Isaiah, I be in the trenches. You know, I'm ducking, looking at them, checking them out. They don't know I be out there watching them, seeing all they move. They say, hey, listen, you want to learn, you got to study the enemy. You hear me? I study the enemy. I studied them well too. You hear me? I studied them well. You hear me? Check it out. Now, issuer. Now I say, now how do you know when you've accepted liability? How do you know when you've accepted the right? See, acceptance is either liability or acceptance is a right to payment. It's either you're accepting being a debtor or you're accepting being the creditor. And it all depends on what? Like I started in the Contract Act, what? Interpretation clause. We're going all the way back to the beginning when we first started this live. We're going back to what? The interpretation clause of contracts. Because your interpretation determines the outcome of the agreement. And this is facts. Same made up. It's facts. Okay? And that's all I provide is facts. Check it out. With respects to an obligation or defense. So what is this saying? It's saying either this is your obligation as a debtor or either this is your defense as a creditor. It's either an obligation or it's a defense. So it all depends on what? Your interpretation. Back to what? Interpretation again, right? With respects to an obligation on a debt or a defense to a debt or what you call a security. An issuer is the person that what? That places or authorizing the placing of his name on a security certificate. So if I put my damn signature on a bank signature card, if I put my signature on a lease, if I put my signature on a mortgage, if I put my signature on any kind of debt, security, right? And it says, other than an authenticating trustee. So if I'm not the trustee and I ain't authenticating this as authentic, then it's not talking about me. Register. Well, I know I'm not a register. I ain't a register of titles. Transfer agent. It sounds more like a bank to me. Some type of financial agent. Or the like, I don't think I even fit in that realm of none of those titles. So if I'm not none of those individuals, according to this code, it says it's to evidence a share. So if I sign my name on something, then I'm evidencing my share in it. Huh? I have a share. What in what? The bank account. In uh the what they call it, credit union account, right? If you signed your name on something, then that means you hold shares, right? Or you what? You trying to what? You're trying to participate, right? When I tell you, you're trying to participate, you're trying to acknowledge your rights to what? To participate what? In a share that you hold. A share of what? Huh? Let's keep going. Other interest in its property. Why didn't it say in their property? It said in its property. So you're holding interest in the property of what? The taxpayer. In its property. What it's? It's the person. It's the person that you're using. It's property. It's the person. Okay, because we're acting as what? Persons, taxpayers. So whenever you acquire interest, it's always going to be an interest in that person's obligation. Why? Because the debt is in the name of what? Your person. And if you're signing, then you're acquiring what? An interest in what? That person's obligation. Huh? You first in line. Huh? Let me wake you up though. Or in an enterprise. Oh, you got an enterprise here. They call it a government. They've been telling you since you was born, you got a government. They just call it a name at the end so you wouldn't know it was actually a real government. So they say, oh, your government name. Oh, no. Just tell them what it really is. Tell them, man, you got a government. You have an enterprise. And you have an highest interest in the enterprise over anybody else. Why you ain't know about this enterprise? Because it was created by a group of individuals called mom and dad without you even knowing, or without them even knowing they was creating a nonprofit organization. They came together collectively to do an act and didn't know they created an organization that wasn't doing the act. And then they issued a certificate with all their names on it as specified owners of the organization. And they told you, hey, this is your birth certification document. So you would never understand what it was. But all the facts are right there in your hand. Like, I'm just telling you what they've done. So you already got an enterprise, right? Or to evidence his duty to perform an obligation represented by the security. So if the security has been deposited to my enterprise and I signed it, then I'm evidencing my duty. What? My acceptance to perform. What? To do an act, right? For my enterprise. Huh? I can't make it up. I can't make it up, yo. I can't make it up. I can read on till I'm blue in the face. How many of y'all gonna actually get it? How many of y'all think, oh, they scamming? These brothers always scamming. When somebody trying to free you, somebody trying to teach you, somebody trying to liberate you from your own ignorance. And all you can do is think that we scamming. I'm doing stuff like this for free. I ain't charging you a dime for this. I'm giving my time and my energy. I could be doing something else right now. But y'all quick to say we scamming and trying to get over on a person. You won't even give a like. You won't share a video. Won't send $1 donation. You won't do nothing. That's why a lot of y'all dead, callous in the mind because y'all don't have, you gotta give to receive. This is part, that's what I give this to receive what? To receive embodiment of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. If I don't give it, then I can't embody the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This allows me to learn. This allows me to basically fill myself up with the knowledge and the wisdom. This is therapeutic, whether you know it or not. I'm not just doing this for nothing. I'm doing this for my own being. This is helping me too. Assignment of security rested in the name or assigned to two or more persons. So now, hold up, damn. I got one more because before I go into this right here, I got to show you something. Now I just showed you how you participate. You participate by signing, and you acquire interest in the enterprise because you're not a trustee, you're not a register, you're not a transfer agent. So anytime you sign something, it's only to participate in the rights to receive something, right? Understand that, okay? So now I'm gonna show you one more thing, right? Let me go back. We over here we was at issuer, okay? I'm trying to think of what is it? UCC 36106. Okay. You're gonna find it now because they can't hide from Brother Isaiah. You see, I do this. You see, I do this, man, for real. I do this thing for real. You got a lot of people talking that thing, but they ain't really showing you that they got proof that everything I say to you, I can prove it without a reasonable doubt. It ain't too many like me. You ask anybody that know me, that met me, it ain't too many like me. It ain't too many that can provide what I provide or have the understanding that I have when it comes to this information. Okay. And you need to recognize who is who so you can understand where you need to be getting your information from, right? Now, identification of a person to whom an instrument is payable, right? So remember what I was just telling you. I said when you receive an instrument and you sign it, you acquire interest in your enterprise, right? But whenever you sign an instrument, remember I told you you're creating a promise to pay. You're accepting a proposal, and when you sign it, it becomes a promissory note. And when you give it to the other party, they sign and accept your promise to pay. So if you're issuing any kind of debt instruments, you're issuing promissory notes where you've given a promise to do something. Whether you did what you promised to do or not is something totally different. But everything that you are dealing with boils down to whether you're going to promise to do it or not. Now check it out. A person to whom an instrument is initially payable is determined by the intent of the person whether or not authorized signing as or in the name or on behalf of the issuer. Now, did I just take you to issuer before this? And it said that an issuer is, it says a defense or an obligation on a security. Remember, we just read it. It says an issuer is a party that has a defense or an obligation on a security that places its name on a security other than a what? Authenticating trustee. We just read it. I just read it before I came here, right? So don't act like you don't understand what's on the screen. It says the person to whom an instrument is initially payable is determined by the intent of the person whether or not authorized signing as or in the name or on behalf of the issuer of the instrument. Right? So if you're signing in the name of the taxpayer or on behalf of the taxpayer or any legal entity for that matter, the instrument is payable to any person intended by the signer, even if that person is identified in the instrument by a name or other identification that is not that of the intended person. If more than one person signs in the name or on behalf of the issuer, so what is it saying? If any man or woman signs a contract for a legal person, let me break this shit down to you, man. Cause y'all take this stuff and y'all make it so goddamn hard for people to understand it. All right. So if more than one man or woman signs in the name or on behalf of a legal entity of an instrument, all the signers do not intend the same person as payee, right? Which is the entity. The instrument is payable to any person intended by one or more of the signers, right? So what is this saying? If you sign a debt, you get to pay it. If you sign an instrument, you get to pay it. Why? Because it's payable by the person who signs it. Whoever signs it is the one promising to pay it. It's accepting the rights to pay it because it's issued to a legal person, right? Now it says if the signature of the issuer of an instrument is made by automated means, such as check, writing, machine, the payee of the instrument is determined by the intent of the person who supplies the name or the identification of the payee. So if I sign online and the obligation is due to my taxpayer, and I sign it in the name of the taxpayer online. If you notice, you pay attention, whenever you do an online signature, they always sign the name of the taxpayer. But whenever you go and you enter into a contract, you always sign your name. All you got to do is just pay attention to what they're showing you. They show you everything. You just don't pay attention. All right? It's even telling you right here that if it's done by automated means, right? The check writing machine, the payee of the instrument is determined by the intent of the person who supplied the identification of the payee. So, right? So whenever you supply, so it's telling you, you're not the payee. You are the authorized representative. You are the one that gets to supply his name to the contract. But you've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked. You've been led astray. You've been hit upside the head and you're wounded on the side of the road and you don't know your way back home. So here comes a good Samaritan, a good brother, trying to patch your wounds up, trying to get you back up so you can walk back and be healed again, free again, be able to read and discern information again. But some way down the line, we got lost, you know? It says whether or not authorized to do so. So an instrument is determined by the person who signs in the name of the payee. The person who signs is the one who determines who the payee pays his obligation to. The payee is always the legal entity stated in the terms of the instrument. Usually it's the identity of a man or a woman that they have the rights to issue payment for, right? Now it says a person to whom an instrument is payable may be identified in any way, including by name, identifying number, office, or account number. For the purposes of determining the holder of an instrument, the following rules apply. So, a person can be identified by any damn thing. By his office, by his identifying number, by an account number, anything that links to him, right? Check it out. So, if we want to determine the holder of an instrument, right? These are the following rules. If an instrument is payable to the account, pay to the order of my account, and the account is identified only by number, The instrument is payable to the person to whom the account is payable. So they're telling you right there. What is they telling you, Brother Isaiah? Talk to the people for a minute. What is they telling you right here? Can you read? Because if you can't read, you can't comprehend. Huh? If a person or if an instrument is payable to the account of an identified or is identified only by number, right? So if my instrument is payable to an account, right? So they're telling you, right? And it's only by a number. It only got a number on it. It ain't got no name or nothing on it. The instrument is payable to the person to whom the account is payable, right? So what is this telling you right here? It's telling you right here, the highlighted part, that all accounts are payable to you. The instrument is payable to the person to whom the account is payable, right? If an instrument is payable to an account identified by number and by the name of a person, the instrument is payable to the named person rather or not that person is the owner of the account identified by number. So what is it telling you? When you get these instruments, you're supposed to be making these instruments payable to you. You're the owner. You're supposed to be paying the obligation to you to settle your debt. You settle your debt by issuing a payment payable to your order, right? If an instrument is payable to a trust, an estate, or a person described as trustee or representative of the trust or estate, the instrument is payable to the trustee, the representative, or the successor of either, whether or not the beneficiary or the estate is also named. So it's saying anytime an instrument is payable to a trust, whenever the instruments are payable to the legal entities, it comes as a due balance. So whenever your entity has a due balance, then it should be payable to the representative of that entity. If your entity receives a due balance of a loan, it should be payable to the trustee, the representative, the one in control, who has the rights to manage the entity. All right? So whenever the taxpayer receives a payment, it should be payable to his what? To his representative or to the actual true owner. Right? A fund or organization that is not a legal entity, the instrument is payable to a representative of the member of the fund or organization, and any office or to a person described as holding the office. The instrument is payable to the named person, the encumbrance of the office, or successful to the encumbrance. If an instrument is payable to two or more persons, alternatively, meaning that both of y'all names are signed on the instrument as parties, it is payable to any of them. So what is this telling you, man? It's telling you that the instrument's supposed to be paid to the signers. If you're the one signing the instrument, you're supposed to receive the interest thereof, right? Because it's due to you, right? Discharged or enforced by any or all of them. So it's telling you, if your name is the name signed on those documents, any one of y'all can discharge it. It can be enforced by anybody that signed it. Why are you saying you the debtor? You signing and saying, oh, they saying, oh, you owe the debt. You owe us the debt. You're the debtor. I'm proving to you that that's a lie. The debtor is the legal entity. All right? The signer is the one entitled to the entity's obligations. But they're misidentifying you by misrepresenting your true identity using your legal identity when the legal identity identifies the debtor, not the creditor. The creditor is the signer, not the name in all caps. The name in all caps identifies the signer. Let me tell you what is going on. So the name in all caps is identifying who's supposed to sign. But the name in all caps is also the liable party for the signer as a representative. It is an instrument payable to two or more persons ambiguous as to whether it is payable to the person alternative, the instrument is payable to the persons alternatively, right? So if two of us sign, any one of us can collect the due balance and transfer it for collection and payment. So I can say, pay to the order of Isaiah Jakeem Bay, all unpaid balances due under this installment loan contract for collection and payment as the holder in due course. And then I can do an assignment of rights. Once I can go and record my acceptance of my rights to payment. And then once I record that certified record from the county or the court, I do an assignment of my rights to receive the unpaid balance that was approved for me to receive as a loan amount for settlement of my lease, for settlement of whatever. All right. It's acceptance. Now let me go right here real quick before I go. This is my last thing and I'm out of here. All right, now I'm back to where I started. Now that I've explained everything in full detail, now we can talk about an assignment of the security rested in the name of or assigned to two or more persons. So now you understand what I mean. How do you know when a security is assigned to you? You have to know about your signature and what it means to be a participant, right? In order to know what you're holding, right? So a transfer of an exchange. Securities registered, right? What is a registered security? A registered security refers to a security, the ownership of which is registered on the books of the Department of Treasury. It is payable at maturity or call. So at maturity is when the debt is fully paid off, or at call is when somebody redeems their rights to have the debt paid in lawful money, right? With the terms of the, see, so right here it says it's either payable at maturity or call for redemption, right? What is redemption? Redeeming lawful money pursuant to Title 12, Section 411. Why would they say call for redemption? Meaning you calling your rights to redeem the debt before maturity, before the last due date, right? With its terms to the person whose name is inscribed or his assignee, right? So what does it mean by to the person whose name is inscribed? Then I tell you that when you sign, you're participating in an enterprise. Then I tell you that the instrument is payable by the signer. So everything is dealing, that's what a registered security is, right? It's registered to the signer, right? Now check it out. Now, whose names of are assigned to two or more persons may be transferred during the lives of all the joint owners only upon an assignment by all of their behalf by an authorized representative upon proof of death of one, the department, let's look at the department, like I said, the Department of Treasury, all right? The department will accept an assignment by or on behalf of the survivors unless the form of registration or assignment includes words which preclude the rights of survivorship in the later case. In addition to the assignment by or on behalf of the survivors or survivors, an assignment in behalf of the decedent's estate will be required, right? Advance refunding or pre-funding offers, right? And then you got the redemption, alternative registration or assignment of securities rested in the name of or assigned to two or more persons in an alternative. For example, John B. Smith or Mary Smith J. or J. Smith or John B. Smith or whatever may be assigned by one of them, right, at maturity or upon call for redemption or for redemption exchange for his account, for his own account, right? Or otherwise, whether or not, right, the other joint owner or owners are deceased. See, ain't nobody showing you nothing like this, yo. I'm showing it to you, right? Because I want you to understand that you can redeem your obligation at any given time. It's your account. You are the owner, right? Redemption exchange. Any authorized redemption of a security for the purposes of applying the proceeds in payment of the security offered in exchange. What? Hands down, man, if you don't give me a share, if you don't give me a like, if you don't burn up the comments for what I'm doing, man, then you're a cold hater. And you just hating, but you can't stop what I'm doing. See, your intention is to chase money. My intention is to liberate the people because there is no money, only rights and credit. If you liberate the people, they'll buy all your products. You show somebody how to do something that's going to liberate them, why wouldn't they come and buy your membership if you can show me how to settle my obligations? You see what I'm saying? So if you really got proof, if you really got truth, then put it out there. Liberate the people. Show a person what to do so that they can come spend money with you. Okay? Liberate them like what I'm doing right here, showing them that this is what I'm not showing you how to write it up, but I'm showing you the laws. I'm showing you that you have certain rights to do certain things. You just need understanding. And you can free yourself from bondage. Most of the people that see in this video that's knowledgeable, they blown away because they already know what it means. They like, damn, he put it all together. But for somebody that's new that don't understand, you still like, damn, okay, I see. Yeah, you still don't understand. But those that understand, they know what I'm showing you, right? Joint registration or assignment. Security rested in the name of or assigned to two or more persons jointly, for example, John B. Smith and Mary J. Smith, or John B. Smith and Mary J. Smith as tenants in common, or John B. Smith and Mary Smith as partners in community, may be assigned by one of them during the lives of all, only for redemption at maturity upon call, and then for redemption for the account of all, right? No assignment or requirement for a redemption exchange for securities to be registered in the same name and form as appeared in the registration or assignment of the security surrendered. Upon proof of the death of the joint owners, the survivor or survivors may assign the security so registered or assigned, right, for redemption or redemption exchange for any account except that if words which preclude the right of survivorship appear in the registration or assignment in behalf of a decedent estate also will be required. So it's saying that as long as you're alive, man, you can redeem any security for your account. If your account received a security where a payment is due, you can redeem it to be paid lawfully rather than having to pay it with currency, which is not lawful money, which would cause you to stay in the obligation. The debt would never discharge. If you pay it lawfully, there is no debt. There is no monthly bills. There is none of that. Okay? Only when you're using currency does the continuation of the obligation remain liable against you because you're not paying what you lawfully owe. All right? I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone. I ain't going no more. Hey, listen. If you like what I'm doing, like I said, make sure you give me a big share. Make sure you like the video. Share it with as many of your family members that need to know this information. Hey, if you like to donate again, that's the Cash App. Building Better Minds, whatever you send, $1, $2, I don't care what you send. If you appreciate what I'm doing, show your appreciation either by helping me build this page up so that I can get more followings and more people to participate and learn the information that we provide here at Building Better Minds. Or if you like to just donate your time and efforts by sending us a cash donation or something like that, we appreciate anything that you can do in return to give your consideration in exchange for what we provide here at Building Better Minds. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I pray that somebody got something from this that can benefit them and their family. Thank you for your time. It's always my pleasure to come before you and provide this information to you. And like I say in all my videos, I leave you as I always do in love and truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality for us all. You guys have you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch y'all in the next live. And to all my YouTube members, got one on the way for you. Peace and love.